back to order. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a few presentations to begin with this evening. Our first one is a presentation of the Lawrence Tech football season wrap-up. And Mr. Mayor, you're going to start off this presentation.
Good evening, Council. I'd like to ask representatives of the Lawrence Tech football team to come forward. As you know, Lawrence Tech began a football program this year that is a return of football to Lawrence Tech for the first time in 72 years. We made it out to some of the games. It was very, very exciting, and the turnout exceeded the planned attendance or the estimated attendance. The opening game, there were over 4,000 people. It was standing room only, and not only was it that particular game was a great victory, it was also the spirit in the stands was incredible, and the pep band, the whole thing was really marvelous. So anyhow, I thought now that the season is over, I'd ask a couple of these gentlemen to come up and talk about the season they had, and we've got a short video clip that I had the pleasure of seeing the other day that is spectacular. So, gentlemen, introduce yourselves. And
Hi, my name is Jay Redmond. I'm an athletic engagement representative for the University Advancement Department. Standing with me is John Hebron. He's the director of our multimedia and football sports information director. And then we have Coach Dan. He's our defensive coordinator. So again, thank you for your time. We'd love to give you this football recap.
So as we look back on this past season, as the mayor mentioned, this was our first season since 1946. We ended up competing. We had 9 games scheduled. We ended up playing 8. One of our final home game, unfortunately, was canceled. But with that, our first game was on September 1st. It was the first college football game played in Southfield. And for, as I mentioned, Lawrence Tech for 72 years since they were in their original campus down in Highland Park. But with that said, the mayor mentioned our attendance. Our capacity was listed at 2,000 this past season, and we had almost 9,000 in total come to our 3 home games this year, so we averaged well over our capacity. Every single game was a sellout. With that, there's a lot of success on the field as well. We started the season off 5-0. The 5 wins was a program record for a first-year head coach, so Coach Duvendek was guiding the Blue Devils this past season. Coach McEwen's defense here through the first 5 games actually ranked first in the country in yards allowed and also rushing yards per game. They didn't let a rushing touchdown in until the 6th game of the season, so it was quite impressive for them. And then our offense finished the season 7th in the country with 41 points per game. So we saw a lot of success on the field, as well as the mayor said, not with our attendance as well. This next season coming up, we're looking at 5 games here in Southfield. We're working on having a 6th home game as well, so we're hoping to continue those great numbers with our attendance. We'll play a full conference schedule in the Mid-States Football Association, which has won 6 of the last 8 national championships. So it's the most competitive conference we can be in for our level.
And with the growth too, back in 2011 we started athletics for Lawrence Tech. 2012 we started with 12 teams. Now we've grown to 25 teams in a marching band. So there's been a lot of growth on the university with our athletic department, and a lot of improvement as well. So a lot of teams improving on and off the field. And with that, we also have the campus transformation. We have a new dorm, East Residence Hall this year, Royce Hall a couple years ago. We have a turf field now with new video board and lighting this year. So you can see a lot of the growth and commitment into the athletic programs. So we'd like to show you kind of a vision for a long-term future of what we're looking at the athletic complex. So as you can see, obviously that's a vision, a long-term goal. It's broken up into multiple phases. But the next step is really the priority is the grandstands. Really, it's important for our athletes, more importantly for the fans, have the enhanced seating options. For those who have gone in games this year, they could see how that was kind of an issue since we were over capacity, having the seating for everyone at the games. And not only for that, it would make us eligible for high school and postseason play as well. So again, bringing a lot more teams to the city of Southfield if we do have more seating options in a complex like that. So from here, we'd like to go over to the next tab, please. We'd like to talk a little bit more about the marketing and branding of it.
So along with the growth at the complex and athletics in general, a big part of what we've been doing is trying to build and establish that Lawrence Tech athletic brand. We've really seen it transform over the last couple of years as more sports have been added. And this particular year, looking at it with football coming in, we've been using television as a driving force along with social media. So we started the LTU Sports Report, which airs on Fox Sports Detroit statewide every Monday, right before Michigan and Michigan State's sports highlight shows. There's no other school of our size in the country that is putting on a television production to this level. And with that, we're showcasing not just our campus, our student athletes, but Southfield. And part of that has been a big push for us is trying to show that marriage between the city and the community and that relationship that we have with them as Lawrence Tech. And then through social media, we started the multimedia department this past year, again, being on the forefront of NAI athletics to showcase our student athletes and to try to attract the best student athletes that we can, not just to Lawrence Tech, but to bring those student athletes. As Jay mentioned, we have over 500 that live on campus here in the city of Southfield, and that's been a big priority for us, is reaching out to those 6 Midwest states that our television show reaches right now to show them this brand and this community that we have here. So with that said, if there are any questions, we want to show the highlights? Yeah, we can definitely do that. We weren't sure on the time, so we wanted to make sure.
LTU football brought a lot of excitement in the 2018 reboot season, and here are the top 10 plays. Kicking off the countdown at number 10 is Kendall Williams, breaking multiple tackles to take it to the house. Number 9, Ahmad Sabah plows through the Trinity Bible defense on his way to setting up a Blue Devil touchdown. Number 8, Terrell Cunningham makes an incredible catch as he bobbles the ball from Tyler Kolka. Number 7, Tyler Kolka finds Nick Spawn down the sideline to spark a 27-point rally for an incredible come-from-behind win at Wisconsin Lutheran. Number 6, Makai Otero gets a nice block and runs through some Panthers for a 33-yard touchdown. Number 5, Tyler Kolka throws a bomb downfield to Cam Jamison, who catches it in triple coverage for the score. Number 4, Tanner Foley runs an impressive 43-yard touchdown against the EMU defense on the second play of the game. Number 3, Tyler Kolka connects with Spencer Iaquinto for the Blue Devils' first touchdown in the modern era. Number 2, Cam Mitchell unloads a monster hit to snuff out the screenplay. Zach Brown jumps on the loose ball at Trinity Bible. The number 1 play of the 2018 reboot season. Kavon Higdon uses his speed to outrun the entire Pitt special teams for the punt return touchdown, capped off with delivering a blow to the punter.
That last clip there of Kavon Higdon. That last clip was a great example of how we've been able to reach the outside market, not just here in Southfield, but Yahoo Sports picked up on social media that clip of Kavon. That last I checked, we were up to close to 1 million impressions just on that one video. And on social media together between the LTU athletics account and football account, every month on average we're close, if not exceeding 1 million impressions every single month. So again, we've been seeing a lot of traction of the Lawrence Tech brand, not just in the Southfield community, but reaching outside of it.
Council, Mr. Brightwell?
Which division are you in?
We play in the NAIA, so right now for football, the NAIA has 2 different divisions, and for football, though, there isn't a division for football. Everyone competes against each other.
Okay.
So the NCAA has Division 1, 2, and 3, and then there's the NAIA, which is a separate league from the NCAA.
Yeah, I was at your first game, which was very impressive, and I thought you guys were Division I, really, the way you were playing out there.
That's all thanks to Coach McEwen here.
Yeah, that was a very impressive first game. The other question being, I attended a function there when you introduced all your new incoming players, and I was 100% impressed that you had recruits from Texas.
Yeah.
And also, I think, and I may have spoken to the mayor or someone else, did you say you had a recruit from Utah?
Texas, Alaska.
Okay, well, Alaska's even more impressive.
Alaska, Texas, California. We got a couple Florida boys. Some of them that you saw up in the highlights. Ohio, obviously a big chunk around Michigan. But yeah, we have them from Washington.
Okay.
So bringing them right here in the center of it all, Southfield.
Yeah, we're definitely impressed with you all and impressed with you bring to the city. And I spoke to a few business people in the city. You're adding to their cash flow also, so keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. Come on, Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, have you ever thought of giving a tutorial to the Detroit Lions?
All right, next we have a proclamation given by the mayor on the Big Rake Success Day.
Yes, this was our 3rd year doing the Big Rake. We had, thank you. We had a challenge this year with, first the leaves didn't fall, so we canceled the first Saturday. And then it was winter. We had a lot of rain, we had snow, some really bitter cold days. And yet we didn't do quite as well as we did last year, but we managed to have 275 volunteers come out, and we did 115 yards. And I'm sure if the weather had been a little bit a little better, we would have done a little more. So anyhow, I'm very, very grateful to a number of people. So I've got some names I'd like to call out, and I hope I can pronounce all of the names correctly. But we wouldn't have a Big Rake really if it weren't for Lowe's, Home Depot, and Great Lakes Ace Hardware on Greenfield at 12 Mile. And we wouldn't have it if we didn't have the help of the young people from the Southfield Public Schools, as well as lots of college kids from LTU. So when I call your name, I'd like you to come up. Daryl Beebe from the Southfield Public Schools. I know Daryl's here this evening. This is in no particular order, don't go away. We had several people, one was Robert Walton, who just showed up every day and even came during the week. I don't know if Robert is in the audience tonight. Robert John Cox is here. I think Robert, some weeks he raked 6-7 days. We have Suzanne Clear, Assistant Professor of Nursing. The nursing school came out. And Dr. Therese Jameson from the nursing school. We have Steve Bemlander, head tennis coach. I probably murdered that name a little. All right, thank you. Ed Brule, volleyball coach. Stan Eldridge, head baseball coach. I know Jeff isn't here, Dubenbeck, but substituting, football coach. Matus Nowakowski, Durr Systems. Durr was rained out, and they set another date. Kevin Finn, Dean of Students. He's my head recruiter. And someone here from Lowe's, they were invited. Home Depot, Southfield, anybody? They were invited as well. And Nicole from Great Lakes Ace Hardware. I don't think the stores really wanted the congratulations, but they donated almost 2,000 bags, which is a big deal. Again, this is the kind of program that it's geared for our elderly residents who are living in homes, who it's a little harder for them to do lawn maintenance, and some of our handicapped residents. We really are all about aging in place. We want people to stay in their homes as long as possible. Sometimes it is a challenge, and so I thank all of you for rounding up the students and contributing to make this another successful year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to all of you all who volunteer. We really appreciate your time and effort given to the city in this effort. Our next presentation is Southfield Brownfield Authority, and Ms. Freeman.
Good evening, Council President, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Board. This evening, I've decided to include an overview of all of the economic development and business initiatives that we incorporate into the Brownfield program so that everyone can have a full understanding of the different things that I do in the city. So it is a short presentation, and I'd be happy to answer questions at any time during the presentation. So my department is really myself. However, I look to our city council, the mayor, all the different department heads, our city administrator, Oakland County, Michigan Works Southfield, the Economic Development Committee, of course the Brownfield Redevelopment Committee, our Chamber of Commerce, and our multiple business community and residents as my partners and as part of my team to help me achieve our goals. Here's a quick overview of the key points that I try to strive for: to strengthen the competitiveness of the city's existing business areas to bring about new development to these areas. For example, all the placemaking efforts that are done in the city center or in Centropolis would fall into this area. Supporting the existing business, the Southfield business employers to become more competitive, enabling them to expand and grow in the city. These would be companies that we've supported with our tax abatements or other economic incentives. Encouraging and assisting with the future diversification of the city's economic base and growing in new growing and innovative industries and occupations. Our outreach efforts to attract new businesses to this community would fall in that area. Helping Southfield residents gain a greater competitive edge for higher skilled and higher wage employment opportunities in the future. This is our work mostly through Oakland County, Michigan Works Southfield's office and working with the Southfield Public Schools and Lawrence Tech. And then leveraging leadership involvement of the private and public sector to increase access to high-quality business and job development opportunities for the city in our future. And again, this is working with the leaders of our corporations to help bring new businesses to the area. An overview of the key tools that I use is, again, the main reason why we're here is the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and then utilizing Public Act 210, the Commercial Rehabilitation Act, Public Act 198, which are our industrial development districts, and then Public Act 328, which is the personal property relief. So our Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and I know Jack Pryor, who's been a longtime member of our authority, is here this evening, and I don't believe that any of our other board members are in attendance, unless they snuck in. But we definitely appreciate everyone's assistance throughout the years, and many of them have been part of our board for, again, many years. Louis Poole, who is the board director, Jack Pryor, Monique Holliday-Betty, James Pierce, John Savoy, Adrian Ziegler, our city administrator, Fred Zorn, compose our Brownfield Authority. Many of these are very active in economic development and bring their resources and knowledge to help us create the best programs and offer the best incentives to companies that are coming before us. Brownfield redevelopment overview. Brownfield properties are those in which the redevelopment or reuse of the property may be complicated by the presence or perception of contamination, blight, or functional obsolescence. Revitalizing and redeveloping these properties protects the environment, reuses the existing infrastructure, minimizes urban sprawl, and creates economic opportunities. The goals of our board are to improve the environmental conditions, redevelop blighted or functionally obsolete properties, including demolition, address unsafe or contaminated conditions, revitalize our commercial areas, conserve green space, and enhance the tax base. I've outlined in a map all of our properties throughout the city, and it's obviously very challenging to see that. And I have a quick overview of the projects that have made major impacts in our city. We've worked on two corporate headquarters, Durr and Lear, and obviously those improvements took very challenged properties that without our assistance would continue to be blighted. And both of these have brought a significant amount of new investment along the corridor. When Lear was, after Lear's project was completed, it made a dramatic improvement on the corridor, and all along Telegraph Road in our city has, we've seen a significant amount of investment up and down the road, so it's been a real big catalyst for us. As well, Durr, which is now part of our city center, brought over 485 employees to our community and really made a dramatic, again, improvement to the whole city. Our neighborhood improvement projects include the Southfield neighborhood revitalization projects, and we've accomplished these in 2016, 17, and 18. And the NRI has purchased 136 properties and rehabbed those single-family homes, really helping to spur investment in our neighborhoods and really encourage new families to come into the community and really spark a lot of new investment in those neighborhoods. Spring Haven, this was a former trailer park, and again, the project won multiple awards throughout the country. It took a very challenged property, and we were able to infuse some assistance, and again, it's been a dramatic improvement for the entire community, and it's still continuing. After the recession, Lombardo Homes picked up the remaining properties, and they're building beautiful apartments that are achieving extremely high rents for the community. Southfield Park Plaza, this was a project by Ark and Jonah. They redeveloped that 9-acre site, which was the St. Bede's property. Again, adding beautiful apartments that everyone was really concerned that they wouldn't rent, and they're also achieving extremely high rents. And then this new development, which includes the Applebee's, has been a big success, and again, sparked a lot of new investment along Southfield Road. And then just a variety of other commercial properties, and again, all of them have made dramatic improvements in our community, and without our assistance, these projects would not have moved forward. Our city center has seen some of them along 8 Mile, Telegraph Road, Southfield Road, and I didn't put a slide in here for Northland Mall because we're working on that project. It's underway. And then the big dramatic project, Kiwi Hospitality, and the redevelopment of the former Holiday Inn property. This, the repositioning of this hotel has, again, brought a lot of attention to the city, and they continue to make investments as they look to build additional hotels on the back portion of the property. So we're really excited about it, and it's doing very well, and it's been a real key project for our Brownfield Authority. Some of the other incentives that we've used, and again, over time, we've discussed, what are the status of these projects, and so I've just laid them out for you here. We've done 4 commercial rehabilitation districts. You don't see the Kroger's property up here yet because we're still waiting to hear if that project is moving forward, and they still need to go to the county and to the state for approval. But again, the DUR project, that was coupled with the Brownfield redevelopment program, and they were able to access funds from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Versa Properties purchased the old Comerica office building. That was primarily a medical use facility, and it was extremely challenging for patrons to go into that space, and it was very hard to lease because of the way that the parking lot was configured in the entrance. And so they were able to utilize this tool to help make a major investment in that facility. The old New Soul Garden, a dramatic improvement, and Mr. Lee and his family have done a phenomenal job with the Korean restaurants that are at this facility. And if you haven't had a chance to visit them, I definitely recommend going and checking them out. The food's amazing, and they're a wonderful family, and they've done a beautiful job. And then again, the hotel, and that was another situation where we layered the incentives to assist them with that project. We currently have 2 existing 198 projects. One of them was a data center that was done a few years ago called Edge Connect, which is off of Melrose area. And then this new beautiful Veoneer, it's a $32 million new construction project that's scheduled to open in the beginning of February. We're thrilled about this project, and they're on time, and our building department and planning department and all the different departments have been working extremely hard to make this project come in on time, and so it's going to be a phenomenal project for the community. We have just a few existing current 328 personal property projects. Federal Mogul, which is due to expire in 2019. We helped retain 700 jobs with that incentive. A company, it's called Open Text now. It was Covison at the time. They've since merged. They had attracted 250 jobs that was looking to move to the city of Detroit. Hello World was another project that we attracted from Pleasant Ridge that was also looking to move downtown. Newark is a spinoff. They've added 80 jobs. They're located in the town center. It's another great company. STTAS, which is now owned by UPS, attracted 260, mostly millennials. It's a real nice project that's located in the Galleria. 123.net, this is part of the cloud providers. And as with all the new technology that's coming online with autonomous vehicles, they've really positioned themselves to be a big player in, helping keep all that data here, and it's been another big attractor for us to get a lot of the new R&D companies knowing that the cloud is right in their neighborhood. And then Credit Acceptance Corporation, they were growing so fast that they decided to purchase the Raleigh Center, so that's another really nice, great new project that came forward. And then I just wanted to talk just real quickly about the Southfield Business Catalyst. One of our other major initiatives is to help small and mid-sized businesses form and people that are looking to start new companies. And this Business Catalyst program is really a wonderful tool to help people make clear decisions when they're looking to do new marketing or to access data for their business plans. This interactive tool, which their website is right there, it's really easy to access. It pulls up all sorts of information. We've worked with the planning department and engineering to pull relevant data, zoning from the GIS program. It's extremely easy to utilize. We're happy to meet with anybody who needs assistance to use this tool, but we've had people utilizing it from all over the world. It's, the website's accessed on a regular basis, and so people are looking for sites and looking for information at all different times. And so it's super easy to go in here. You don't need anyone, you don't need to talk to anyone. You can pull all the data you'd like. And so it's another great tool. So that's the end of my presentation. Is there any questions?
Council, any questions, comments? Yeah, Mr. Brightwell?
Very nice presentation.
Thank
And
you.
I attended some of the openings with some of these companies and have pictures to prove it. But one that interested me was STAS. I was really impressed with what they were doing there. And it indicated they were purchased by UPS. Is there any threat of them moving up? I hate to put you on the spot.
Yeah, with anything else, like any other projects, a lot of these companies are owned by private equity or venture capital companies, and so they come for sale, just like Open Text was another example. And sometimes they merge and move into existing space. STTAS, I don't believe that there's any threat for them leaving. They're very happy in their space, and they continue to grow. And I think it kind of filled a void for UPS. That company helps with companies for logistics and delivering goods around the world, specifically related, I believe, to GE. But they handle all sorts of product that they move. So I don't believe that there's any threat.
Okay.
But like anything else, you never really know.
It's a private company, so
Exactly.
anything happens. Okay.
Mr. Frazier?
Yeah, all these businesses that you've attracted to move in here, the folks have to eat someplace. Have we started to attract any restaurants?
It is a big challenge. We've been working, with the planning department and all the different departments to create a sense of place for companies to enjoy, and they've definitely had extremely strong feedback and regarding Evergreen and the redevelopment of Evergreen. The reality is a lot of these companies, a lot of young people, they're either traveling a lot for their business, or when they come in the morning, they kind of check what food item they want, and the employers bring food in for them. And so they like to be in this environment, that there's all these great restaurants and it's a very vibrant community, but a lot of them don't leave their offices. If you've visited any of their offices, they have beautiful cafeterias and fitness facilities and all sorts of amenities inside that it's really challenging to get them to come outside. But they do enjoy them, and I know they take advantage of a lot of the smaller restaurants and catering facilities that are in the area. So we continue to work with them and try and encourage them to come out with our different events that we host, and we've had a lot of success with the Eat to the Beat. Veoneer had company picnics at 3 of the 4 Eat to the Beats, where they had an all-user event and brought their team out to participate and do some team building. And so that kind of caught on with some of the other companies in the area, so we've saw more companies come and gather at the event. But again, I think a lot of the companies get like 15, 20 minutes to eat lunch, so I think they want to keep them all inside.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Mr. Mayor?
Shelley, could you go back to the Veoneer slide?
Sure.
I had the opportunity a week or two ago to go over and tour the building. It's not finished, but on every floor there is an eating area, a very nice kitchen. But I wanted to add that this is, the cost of building the building is $32 million. To outfit this building, Veoneer is spending $60 million. They don't own the building, they are leasing it for 15 years from one of the Jonah companies. And it is really beautiful inside, and they're gracing the front with a spectacular piece of art. And it just, I know the other companies have also spent a lot of money. I just don't have that figure off the top of my head, but I was looking around this building, and the amount of stuff and technology that is going into it is incredible. So, and they mentioned, to furnish this and have all the equipment for our staff, which is growing, by the way. They're adding jobs steadily. $60 million in internal working. So it's a major investment here.
They actually already added the 150 new cubes that they were anticipating for the future, and they had to make a modification to their furniture plan because they're so fast in adding these jobs that they needed to put them in immediately. And I do want to say that these are the projects that we financially assisted with our tax incentives, but I know that the mayor and city administrator were at a large company yesterday or on Friday, that I don't know if it's been publicly announced if their project went through, but they're adding 110 jobs. And so we've had a lot of other really strong success that we haven't added any financial commitments to, but just we're there to support them. And so it's been really nice to see a lot of these new companies growing, and their technology it's amazing to see what's happening inside the building, so.
Yes.
Yes, I just want to speak to Councilman Frazier's point about the sit-down restaurants. As chair of the Economic Development Committee this year, we do want to work closely with you, Shelley, and I think that's one of the things that we're interested in, is trying to identify who can come into our city and create some sit-down restaurant for us. I know you spoke to the millennials and how the companies try to cater to them, but we want to try to see if we can identify somebody to come in.
Absolutely.
So we can sit down, us old folks, sit down and eat with our family. So we'll be working with you. We don't have our meeting schedule yet, but we'll be.
Right, very good. Looking forward to it.
All right. All right, if there's nothing else, thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation. Very
Thank
well
you,
done.
Shelley.
Moving on to the agenda, we got one set of minutes to approve.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Mandelbaum,
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes of November 26th.
Support.
all right, it's been properly moved by Mr. Mandelbaum and seconded by, I'll go with Ms. Taylor right now, that we approve the regular meeting minutes of November 26th. Not 2018. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Meeting
Mr.
minutes.
President,
Yes, Mr. Frazier.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items A through G and ask for a roll call vote.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Frazier, supported by Mr. Mandelbaum, that we approve our consent agenda items A through G. Madam Clerk, would you please call for a vote?
Brightwell,
Yes.
Fracassi,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Mr. President, consent agenda items have been approved.
All right. Thank you very much.
Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Fracassi.
I'd like to mention what we discussed in closed session, not closed session, but in our study session, that this will be put on cable so that people can know what these consent judgment, the consent agenda looks like.
Yes.
And because this is the first day that we're going this route, and I think that the people who view this will know where we're spending the money.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, as well as online as well, for those who have access to the complete document is available there as well. So, but we'll continue to do everything to maintain our transparency and keep everybody informed on what we're doing via the consent agenda items. Next up is the public hearing. We have two items, I should say, but one hearing to have. Mr. Crode.
Through the chair, our public hearing tonight is PZR 17-0006, a conditional rezoning request of Mike Shamami to rezone .59 acres of property from R1 single-family residential to OS office service with conditional rezoning agreement. The property is located on the north side of West 12 Mile, just east of Franklin Road. And the conditional zoning that the property owner is offering is to limit the uses to medical professional office, financial institutions, urgent care facility, or veterinary clinic. This is the current conditions. It's currently vacant. Existing conditions on the site. The future land use calls for low-density multiple family. Current zoning is R1. And the proposed zoning is OS with those conditions that I've offered. This was previously before council about a year or so ago. The stipulation was to come back with a conditional zoning so to protect the city and the surrounding neighborhoods with less intensive type of uses that would be on more of a supportive role. And it's for you tonight as a public hearing. I don't know if the petitioner has anything he wants to add at this point. I'd be happy to answer any questions after the public hearing's been held.
Could you please give us your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening, members of the city. Mike Shamami at parcel that's referenced 25810 12 Mile Road in the city of Southfield. I know this is a public hearing that we've gone back and forth a few times in regards to this parcel, and I think we came up with a pretty good plan that we can put together and hopefully make it work there and put a little development on that site. And I think it'd be, hopefully a medical center, financial institution. We're, kind of leaning towards the medical center. We think it'd be probably a good fit with a lot of the multi-family residents back there. It'd be, something good to have right off the road there like that, and, easy access to. So I am here if you have any questions. I know a lot of the familiar faces. We've been back and forth a few times, and it's been a pleasure working with everybody. So regardless of the results.
Okay. Thank you very much. You can just have a seat for a moment. We'll open up the public hearing, and then if there's some more questions afterwards, we'll take those. So I'd like to now open the public hearing for PZR 17-006. If there's any members of the audience that would like to speak to this particular matter, feel free to come forward. You have 3 minutes. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Fracassi.
I move PZR 17-306.
Support.
All right. It's been moved by Mr. Fracassi, supported by Mr. Frazier, that we approve PZR 17-006. Is there any discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Are we
Yes, sir.
supposed to introduce that ordinance 1700?
That would be through the chair, after you
Is that a
approve
separate
this.
public hearing?
No, it's a separate
Part of
action.
the second part of this one?
Separate
Okay.
action.
So one sweep.
Yeah, and I just want to, through the chair, as a
sorry,
friendly
I didn't-
amendment, this rezoning request is a conditional zoning, so it's subject to the agreement that's attached.
Great. Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move ordinance number 1700, conditional rezoning request.
Support.
All right, it's been moved by Mr. Frazier, Mr. Fracassi, and supported by Mr. Frazier, that we introduce ordinance number 1700. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, ordinance is introduced.
Through the chair, the next item, PSLU 18-008, unattended collection bins. The public hearing was previously held on November 26, 2018. Council had some questions at the time. It was requested by myself and the city attorney to postpone to a date certain tonight to do some more research. We presented that at the study session, and we're asking your consideration to approve the proposed amendments as well as introduce the ordinance.
Okay. So we've already held the public hearing, so we need an approval, a motion to approve first, just as we did, so.
Mr. Chair?
Entertain it? Yes, Ms.
Yes.
Morris.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve public hearing PSLU 18-0008.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Morris, supported by Councilwoman Taylor, that we approve PSLU 18-008, unattended collection bins. Is there any
Mr. Cruz?
I'm sorry, yes.
Just I wanted to add one thing. You gave we were given a list of where these bins are.
Correct.
And I contacted some of the principals in Southfield Public Schools, which have approved bins for paper recycling, and Abitibi Company then reimburse or gives an activity check to the schools for activities. But because they've had these bins, all of a sudden, these other bins appeared on school property. They were not. So this is really the root of this issue, is that they're there without clearing anything with the school district. And I think just because they saw a paper recycling bin, we'll put a clothing bin as well. And the difference is, obviously, the individual schools are being rewarded with financially with paper recycling, and these bins are for profit on public property.
Okay. All right, thank you. Was there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Fakasi.
Yes, I raised these questions when we were in study session, and I'd still like to know, because these are primarily in commercial areas, and some which we understand also on public areas, that they be notified that this ordinance is going to exist and how it is going to affect their businesses and wherever they have them, and give them adequate time to give some input as to what they would like to do. And I really raised the issue because of what happened in St. John when they got sued by these unattended collection bins, and it cost them quite a bit of money, and I'd like to make sure we're on solid ground when we pass this.
Okay. Good, Mr. Grove?
Yes, we'll be working with the city attorney and the city clerk to come up with a business licensing portion. I'll be working with the codes department about sending the notices, but it's our intent to give a 90-day notice to come in and comply. And this introduction tonight will take effect next month, so that's really almost 120 days.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Just went through my head, pragmatically. What happens if we do what we say we're going to do, and code enforcement sends them a letter that says they have to move it, and they don't move it? Do we move it ourselves? Do we leave it there and?
Well, through the chair?
Yes.
I would imagine, and the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, it's no different than any other violation. We try to get it to correct voluntarily first, and then if not, we go through the courts. We don't just show up and remove it. It would be through the courts.
Through the chair, that is correct. It would be the subject of notification through the code enforcement department, and if noncompliance persists, then potentially some type of municipal civil infraction could be issued, and then the matter would proceed in court.
See, normally, the code enforcement folks are after somebody like mow the grass because the grass is too long. Well, in this situation, if nothing happens for X amount of time, we're going to give you 25 days or 15 days to resolve or get that out of there. They're still collecting stuff in that thing. So it's, the longer they delay doing it before we take action, the better it is for them. So it's really different than better mow your grass.
Well, again, we're trying to meet the reasonable test. Give them
Understand.
fair, reasonable, and we had set 90 days as a reasonable notice to get things in order.
Okay. We'll see how it works.
We prepared to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
No.
Thank you. We have one nay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we introduce ordinance number 1701.
Support?
It's been moved by Councilwoman Moore, supported by Councilman Frazier, that we introduce ordinance number 1701. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
No.
No. All right. Thank you very much.
I want to qualify my no vote, Mr. Chairman, that I would like to see how we are going to handle it and how code enforcement are going to blend in with the planning department and see how people are going to be notified, how many days if they can't make it, if they're out of town. A lot of things that I don't really have the answers for yet tonight.
Okay. Duly noted. All right. Moving on to the site plans. We have 4 site plans to review today.
Through the chair, our first site plan is PSP 18-005, site plan review request of Calabat Engineering on behalf of the owner, InStream PM, for the construction of 30 condominium units in 8 buildings and 9 detached condominium units on vacant property located on the east side of Losser Road and north of Dunscotus. These condominium units do have some minor waivers that they will be seeking. 1 foot 6-inch waiver needed for the building height and 0.22 acre waiver for the total lot area. This is the current dimensions and property parcel split on the parcel. This is the proposed site plan, and with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Calabat to come up and talk about the proposed single-family site condos that are facing Dunscotus, and then the multiple family to the north. And then we have, when you're ready, I'll flip to the elevations.
Great. Iden Calabat of Calabat Engineering. Business address is 31333 Southfield Road, Suite 250 in Beverly Hills, Michigan. So as Mr. Code mentioned, we have 2 different types of residential units that were being developed here. We've got attached condominium units that are 4-unit buildings and 2 3-unit buildings. Those are located in an area that is currently zoned RT for attached condominium units. And then we also have the single-family site condominium units that are located along Dunscotus within the currently zoned R1 zoning district. We are the reason why they are both condominiums is more of a technicality and formality with the Land Division Act and the inability to split this land via the Land Division Act in the way that we're intending to develop it. So we would be condomizing it into 2 separate condominiums. One that would be the attached condominiums. The second would be the single-family homes along Dunscotus. So the single-family homes, as you see on your left, are meant to resemble and really mirror the existing homes on the other side of Dunscotus, across the street from them. And then the attached condominium units, we are looking at one of the 4-unit condominium buildings there on the right. And I am here to answer any outstanding questions you guys have on the development.
I'd like to just point out this is one of the first significant new residential developments that the city has seen in at least a decade, not including the apartment complexes. But as far as infill development, this is one of our few larger parcels. What's the acreage, about?
Just under
10?
8 acres, about
Yeah,
7.8
yeah.
acres.
So, and the whole design irregardless of whether it's site condo or platted, as you drive up and down Duns-Scotus as invisible lines, it'll look like single-family homes. And these are made as a mirror upgrade to the property on the south. So Duns-Scotus will retain that single-family character. And then to the north, where there is multiple family, the proposed units. If you want to talk a little bit about the target market and the units too, I think that would be helpful, about first floor master bath
Absolutely.
and so forth.
Yep, so as Mr. Code alluded, we are targeting more of an aging community with ranch-style homes and first-floor master floor plans. The floor plans that we've selected as well for both the condominiums and the single-family homes are very modern, open floor plans that, give seamless entry between your kitchen, living, dining room areas, so you're not going through separated rooms into each one. The bathroom facility, or the target of having master bedrooms with the ranch units and with the first floor master units on the entry level floor is really key to the market here in Southfield and many other communities surrounding Southfield. We feel that these units not only service a specific targeted demographic, but they also are desirable by the other demographics. The emerging starting families still enjoy first floor master units, ranch units as well. So they are not solely exclusive to an aging community, but they are in a sense geared towards that, understanding that our residents here in Southfield are trying to settle down and a property that they can own, retain ownership of a property and not just a rental unit, as well as be able to avoid going up and down stairs on a daily basis.
One last comment through the chair is, even though there's 9 lots proposed, I believe we have at least 4 different architectural styles, so these aren't going to be cookie-cutter exact. Now, it's going to be up to the private market to decide what they want to pick, but we work closely with the developer in coming up with some different alternative architectural elevations and building styles for the Duns-Scotus property.
Absolutely.
Mr. Brightwell.
This came before site plan, and I'm purely impressed with the project. But can you tell me a little bit more about stormwater runoff?
Sure. So there's currently in the northeast corner of the site where the laser pointer was, we have a proposed stormwater detention system, detention pond. The existing topography of the land actually sheds all of the water to that portion of the property currently. And the northeast corner there, along the adjacent single-family homes, we do have an existing high grade there that is kind of blocking some of the existing runoff from our property from traveling across the property line to the neighboring properties. Now I understand, and it's been brought to the council's attention and the planning commission's attention, that some of the residents, the 2 single-family residents adjacent to us, are currently experiencing some difficulties and problems with their stormwater infrastructure or lack thereof. Basically what is happening is a ponding of water near the back of their properties. It is important to note that the topographic maps that we have and the topographic survey supports the conclusion that our parcel currently does not shed any of its stormwater detention or no significant portion of its stormwater runoff onto those 2 adjacent properties. It's also important to note that through our engineering design and through the approvals that we will go through with city engineering, we will not be promoting or allowing any of our stormwater runoff that's generated by the increase of impervious surfaces from our development to shed off onto the neighboring properties.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Fracassi.
I spoke to it during the study session when you came forward, and you are an engineer, I heard, right?
Correct.
How many of these homes or condos will have basements?
All of them will have basements. All of them will have sump pumps. Yep.
I am very concerned when we have a wet spring like we had this last year, and people in the east side of the city got basement water in the basement, and it got really messy. I'd like to try to head this off, having this same thing happening here. If the water comes down the lid, and you see the amount of roofing that you have over the land, there isn't that much vacant land to absorb the water. So it's all going to depend on how fast that water can be sent from the eave trough down into this pond. And I would really like to know ahead of time the size of these pipes and how they're going to work, and if they're going to have some auxiliary pumps or something, because they're already having problems in that area with water. And now existing, so is building new homes on top of where they're having already water problems is going to be a test for you to engineer something very special. And I just would like to make sure, Terry, that we really monitor that because that's going to, it comes back and bites us. You know how that works.
Right.
When they get that stuff in the basement, and you got a finished basement, you got to take everything out. There's probably here people in the audience that had that happen, and we just want to protect it so that they do not have that happen themselves.
To address that issue, we actually have, our current design has 3 different routing systems that we're, for stormwater management. So we have the roadway drainage system, which will have catch basins along the road, which will catch a lot of the hardscape surface runoff into their catch basins, divert them into underground pipes that'll carry it over to the detention pond. So that's really carrying a lot of your surface front yard drainage there. Also, in the backyards of the condominiums, both on the north side, between our attached condominium units and the adjacent property, as well as on the south side between the attached condominium units and the site condominium units along Duns Scotus, the backyards of those units. We also have yard drain systems as well to pick up surface water from the grassy areas. 2 things are that you brought up there, 2 different types of stormwater flow. We've got the surface and hardscape flow that's coming in off of our roofs, which are collected by the gutter systems along the edges of the building, which will be routed through downspouts both on the front and rear of the building to kind of split up some of that water so it's not all concentrated into one of these systems. Those downspouts will extend a healthy distance away from the structure to allow that water to flow into the yard drain systems in the rear yards, as well as to flow into the road system in the front yards. So and all of the underground pipes will be hydraulically sized for a 100-year storm event, which is your flood storm event. The second drainage issue that you raised is really with groundwater and the moisture within the soils and how that impacts the foundations and basements of these buildings. So with the updated and newer building codes that were not all in place when a lot of communities and residential homes were built in the city of Southfield and many other communities in this area, there's a mandatory sump pump that you have to put in the basement. So any water that comes in and around your foundation system is captured by a gravel stone base led to an under-drain pipe that is carrying it over to a pump. Each of the detached single-family units will have its own dedicated sump pump to make sure that its foundation is protected from groundwater and to make sure that that water is getting pumped out and away from the building. And again, those sump pump leads will be extended to a minimum of 10 feet beyond the building envelope. What we typically will do is to try and extend that a little bit further and get that sump pump lead to be a lot closer to the actual yard drains that are in the rear yards there, so that there's a very short distance that they are traveling over the grass to get into a controlled stormwater system. So we're tackling the problem from multiple angles, but we're very confident in.
What is the length from the Lasher Road to your pond?
From Lasser Road to the pond is approximately 800 feet.
Yeah.
Yep, about 800,
It wouldn't help
feet.
to have the pond in the middle, would it? So that they have equal flow to the pond all those units?
It's a difficult challenge. You're working against
Make it
the grades, the existing grades. You're having to, what we would essentially have to do would be to raise up our lot and the ground, existing grade adjacent to those residential units, which is something we really do not want to do, because that would prove much more challenging to make sure that any stormwater runoff we generate is not traveling onto onto the neighboring lots. So you really need to kind of follow the existing grading patterns and the way that the land it wants to shed the water, and utilize that to your advantage to collect the water in a more efficient way, utilize the surface as well as the underground systems to promote that drainage to the appropriate place.
If it runs west, which it will do, those people at the end of the runway are going to get swamped, and I don't care how high the berm is, they're still going to get it.
Well, we've got
unless something is built in between the houses and the development that would
sure
that, like a grate or something.
So one of the things that our stormwater system has that most do not is we have a mechanical pump system that is actually pumping the water out of our pond out to Duns Scotus and to the existing stormwater infrastructure that is along Duns Scotus. That is part in because of the grade challenges or the lack thereof of stormwater infrastructure in this area, which is part of the problem that we're seeing with these existing residences. There isn't any well-developed stormwater infrastructure for these homes to connect to. So we're installing a pump station in order to make sure that water that's getting into the pond is then pumped out to a system that ultimately, and it doesn't have a very long routing process, but connects to the road drainage system in Lasser Road, which is a lot more capable of handling large volumes. So we're cognizant of the dangers here with the stormwater runoff, and I assure you we are well engineering this thing to make sure that it is capable to handle those large volumes of water and those flood
It's
events.
also going to depend on how well they maintain that pond and its drainage.
Absolutely. So maintenance is a
condominiums, it would have a heck of an association.
They sure will. The association documents will be very detailed as to the responsibilities and roles for maintenance of not only the lawn areas but the stormwater system as well.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yeah, I asked for a point of personal privilege. And during the recess, I was approached by a resident that has a financial interest in some property adjacent to this that he would like to speak on the record, and I asked if that would be allowable.
Yes, if he's here, please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Donald Kuffner. I live at 21560 McClung Avenue, and I own the entire 400 feet adjacent to that lot. And I think that you need a professional engineering hydrology company to study that, because the house I own right next to this property only has a crawl space type basement in it. Used to be called Fruit Cellars. Now, I've been in Southfield since 1946. I think the only guy in the room that beats me might be Mr. Fakasi. But I grew up in this neighborhood. I know this neighborhood like the back of my hand. I know the flooding problems that has been created when they put the engineered drainage system in on Duns Scotus and on McClung, and it does not handle the groundwater. Now, on my property, next to that property, I put pipes in the ground, 6 inches in diameter, so I could measure groundwater myself, and that groundwater is at grass level for 3 months. So when he says he's putting a drainage pond in that corner, he's right adjacent to my lot and the neighbor south of me, or to the north of me. And all that grade is a 10-foot elevation change between Duns Scotus and McClung. So where's the water going to go? It's going to go to McClung. And it has to go through that property. And right now, even after a heavy rain, the groundwater is that high. So I think hydrology study of the area would help considerably before we just go and say, yeah, the pond's going to work. And I'll tell you one thing, too. I owned house number 9 across the street from his house number 8. When the builder built my house, the house number 7 on the other side, they went too deep with the basement. That poor lady's sump pump never stops. So if you're building houses for senior citizens, they're going to be paying a heck of an electric bill if those basement floors hit groundwater. That's why you need to do a hydrology study of the whole area and see where the groundwater really is. I just would not want to see somebody else. Now, when they built my house, which was the 9th from the corner of the original ones across the street, mine was 1 foot higher than everybody else's in the neighborhood. And I didn't have a problem. My sump pump never ran. So, again, builders have to be careful. It's easy to say what they're going to do, but not, and their engineering, I don't dislike the idea that we develop the land, and I think his game plan's good, but I wouldn't want to see it become another 8.5-mile road. And if you've ever driven down there, you cannot park a car in the street and still get a fire truck down it. So the width of his road between his north and south attached units really has to be looked at. Where are they going to park their company? Because they only see 1 car length from the garage to the street. And you get a party of 7 people, and the 6 of them come in their own cars, then there ain't going to be room for a fire truck if that road's not wide enough. But I really think the city ought to do a hydrology, or not the city, but the developer needs to really have a engineered hydrologist. And I know it's the guys at the Michigan State that are qualified.
Okay? All right, thank you very much. Council, any other discussion on this? Do you want to respond to something?
Yeah, I'd just like the opportunity to address some of the points made. First and foremost, I'm a licensed professional engineer and have looked at this in great detail. We've also done soil testing and have done perk testing and infiltration testing done by Testing Engineering and Consulting. We've got a report on and we've actually got groundwater monitors at the location of the detention pond. I've had discussions with our city engineer, Lee Schultz, about the concern of the height of the groundwater in that area. So we are actively monitoring the situation. We've also had some discussions with Parjana Distribution, which is a infiltration promotion company. They've got a very unique product that unfortunately we were not able to complete a design with them for site plan approval process, but during our final engineering design, we will look to try and re-engage them on this. And their product is a very unique product that they've had a lot of success at and testing done at Lawrence Tech, that LTU University, in some of their parking lots. So there are opportunities definitely here. There are challenges with the stormwater. There are challenges with groundwater. Myself as an engineer and a developer, I tend to try not to shy away from challenges, but take them head on and look for the greatest solution that can be had. So,
if I could remind the council, you'd be approving the site plan, but it's still subject to the city engineer and the building department signing off on the actual implementation and construction. So that's the safeguard there.
Okay.
And I do have a recommended resolution in your packet for the site plan conditions if you decide to move forward on this project.
Well, even beyond that, even if the engineer and the building department sign off on it, if the facts are that the water runs in the wrong direction, he still has to fix it.
That's correct. Yes, they're correct. But I'm just saying you're not carte blanche giving approval if the engineering doesn't work or the fire marshal says the road's too narrow or whatever it is.
Right. I just want to make sure that the argument isn't, well, you guys signed off on it, so it must be okay, you know.
Right.
So the bottom line is you can't run water on somebody else's property.
Other than what the agricultural rate is.
Right.
Any other questions? We need a motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve site plan PSP 18-0005.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Brightwell and supported by Councilman Mandelbaum that we approve site plan PSP 18-005. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed?
I'm going to vote no, just because I want to make sure that we follow up on the water situation there,
Okay. Duly noted.
for other no reason.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good luck.
All right. All right, item B.
Our next site plan is PSP 18-008. Site plan review requests of B, D, and E Group for the construction of a new gas pump canopy, along with other site amenities on the southwest corner of Evergreen and West 12 Mile Road. There's the location of the site, is the existing gas station. This is the existing pump that the petitioner would like to enlarge. Existing conditions on the site, current zoning, and here's the site plan of the proposed extended canopy. And this is the elevation of the proposed extended canopy. And if I could ask the petitioner to come up and introduce himself and explain the need for the canopy.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, Habib Shamami, 20041 12 Mile.
Okay. Did you,
Excuse me.
would you like to share anything more about the project with us?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to just explain what your need or request is?
My request is probably like all other old stations, cleaning up the environmental underneath, put a new tank and a new canopy, new pumps, and do the facade outside. Nothing less or nothing more, just upgrading.
So you have done soil testing and chemical testing over there already? Or you will do it as part of this
That would
project?
be required.
It is?
Yeah. The state monitoring. This has gone in front of site plan committee.
Okay.
I don't know if you know, this is an old station. There was probably a gas release there before. It's a dirty ground. So what are we gonna do now? Take everything out and clean it up, put a brand new tank. The same I did it across the street on the Shell station.
Okay.
Improving, that's all.
I'm sorry, through the chair to the planner, are they now keeping the additional pump or getting rid of it? Because that was one of the conditions you were gonna have.
No, I'm just gonna go with the 4 pumps.
So you're getting rid of that
I'm gonna take the one on
one?
the side out.
Okay.
So this one's coming out?
Yes, right there.
So you'll just have the 4 pumps underneath the...
Okay, just under the
Yes.
canopy?
Yeah.
Just under the canopy.
The one on the side is being removed.
Okay, completely gone.
It'll be easier for the gas truck to go in and out. The way they pull in now and back up on the road, it's not as easy, but they've been doing it for all these years.
Okay,
If I remove that pump, they just pull in straight and get out straight, it'll be a lot easier.
okay.
Council, any other questions?
Excuse me, are you putting in a new tank?
Yes.
So you're going to tear up your whole yard?
Yes.
In order to put the new tank in?
Yes.
Now, the gas station on the corner of 9 Mile and Telegraph, for about 2 years, I don't know if it was because their tank leaked or if they found some, some toxic problem. They had a trailer sitting there that was apparently monitoring the...
That's correct. It's a monitoring well. It was required by the state.
Okay. Does he have to do this with this?
It depends on what they find in the soil, and I think that's all regulated by the state DEQ.
Okay.
That's mandatory, that...
If they find that a monitoring well is required, they do put one in.
Okay, well, my question is, whose responsibility is it to call the state and say that this is happening? Is it the city before before we finally approve it? Is it the developer that...
I believe Phase 1, Phase 2 environmental assessment would trigger state notification of the removal of the tanks, and then they're the ones that monitor.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I'd hate to see...
It's outside, we coordinate, they
Yeah.
inform us of of what's required, but we don't personally handle, like, the city doesn't personally handle the removal and monitoring of underground tanks. It's done by the state.
Okay, because I'd hate to have them spend the money and then have the state come along and say, oops, you know, you didn't do one little thing and you didn't read the fine print and you got to tear it all up again.
The states, they're going to be there and they're going to monitor
Okay.
everything.
And
So
you're familiar with the process?
I'm
'cause
familiar
you
with this,
did-
and I've done
you
it
did on
across the
north
street.
side.
DEQ, they're all going to be there monitoring things, and one thing you need to know, Amoco owned that station before, and there was a release when they owned it, so if there's anything in the ground, the dirt is dirty, they're going to have to clean it, it's on them.
Okay,
So I have all that, you know, putting it together.
okay.
Mr. Brightwell?
Yeah, this is a total remodeling. There are residents, there's a residential area in the back of you, is that correct?
There's a commercial area.
Is there residence also?
And then there's a little fire station, not too far.
There's a strip center that is an L shape that goes around the property, and then the fire department is to the west.
Right. Okay, well, the point I want to get to is light pollution. Will there be any additional light pollution in the area? Will it be something that will, if there are houses in or?
Just through the chair, all the lighting has to be shielded and directed downward.
Right.
And it has to be at 0-foot candles at the property line.
Okay. So that
And the
means.
building department, we have a photometric plan that's provided, and then the building department has light monitors to
Okay.
tell. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't see the light from a distance. It's
Right.
about light pollution off-site. So
Okay.
that's already regulated by the city.
Oh, okay, so there won't be any additional light pollution? The thing will be the same or better?
It'll be better, actually.
Okay, okay.
Whatever you have there, well, that was in old days and everything, now technology, it's a lot better.
Okay. Okay.
Good. Anything else? Okay. Entertain a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
I'd like
Vanderbilt.
to make a motion that we approve PSP 180008.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Mr. Brightwell, that we approve site plan PSP 18-008. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item C.
Our next site plan is PSP 18-0010. Site plan review request of MGA Architects for the construction of a 348-square-foot porch addition to an existing dental office located at 20307 West 12 Mile Road. Here's the existing site. It's actually just west of the property that we just talked about. It's on the south side of 12 Mile. And they need a waiver of 1 foot of building setback from the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is the existing building. They're going to add a covered entrance to the west of the property, existing conditions, current zoning, and this is the elevation that's proposed. It's basically this 348 square foot addition. Is a petitioner or representative here? You want to add anything to that?
My name is Robert Cliff with MGA Architects, 3451 Delamere Court, Royal Oak, Michigan. It's a pretty straightforward addition we're requesting onto a non-conforming condition along the 12-mile road. I think basically they've basically covered all the bases for us.
Okay. Questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yep, Mr.
I'd
Mandelbaum.
like to make a motion that we approve PSP 18-0010.
Support.
Been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Ms. Taylor, that we approve site plan PSP 18-0010. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes. Thank you very much. And one more, item D.
Our last site plan this evening is PSP 18-0011, site plan review request of Comprehensive Construction Services, Inc. for the construction of a 1,368 square foot carport on property located at 20 Oak Hollow. If you recall, a few years ago, they did a master plan of all the proposed additions that they anticipate over a 3 to 5 year period. This is something new because it's over 1,000 square feet. It has to come to council. This is the existing site conditions. There's barrier-free parking here. They want to designate 8 spaces to be covered for their senior management group as they enter the building. Existing conditions. And here's the proposed carport. It'll be roughly 6 feet 8 inches tall, and this is the area, roughly 38 feet wide by 36 feet deep, and it'll incorporate 8 parking spaces. I don't know if someone's here from Denso.
Actually, I'm Chris Oliver, Comprehensive Construction, 1613 Ridge Road, Highland, Michigan. And as you know, Denso is one of the largest employers in Southfield. They've acquired this building a couple years ago, and they're starting to put plans in for renovation. And as part of these buildings, they have executives and senior management that have to correspond with their headquarters, which is in Japan. So those folks typically are there at night, and this is just a little amenity to give them something to come to instead of coming out to an icy car or something like that. They can park under a carport. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot to mention that because of the global economy, they're working off hours, and this is for the protection of the people working in these off hours.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Brightwell.
I move that we approve site plan PSP 18-0011.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Brightwell, supported by Ms. Morris, that we approve site plan PSP 18-0011. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question. Excuse me if I'm way off on this one. This kind of a construction project doesn't require a rat wall.
That would be a question of the building official.
I know we did that for sheds.
Yes, usually typically sheds or anything enclosed requires a rat wall. I don't know if this does.
I mean, if they want to get in, they just go in the front door. You know?
Yeah, right. But that would, something the building department would require if it was necessary.
Okay, all right.
But it's typically enclosed structures that require rat walls.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, awesome. Thank you very much.
If you could just give me a minute to take this stuff down before your communication.
All righty. While we're waiting to get the screen cleared up and everything, I do want to just say before we go into communications, just remind everybody that, you know, that the opportunity for public comments is an opportunity for our residents to be able to speak to us, to the council, about concerns or otherwise that you may have as it relates to the city. But it is not an opportunity to come and harass or to berate any of the council members, city employees, and take personal attacks on folks. So I just want to remind us as we, as people are coming up today and moving forward always, that, you know, we always maintain a certain level of decorum and respect for one another, and that we will not tolerate personal attacks. And if that does take place, we may have to either cut your mic off or ask you to leave the meeting for the evening if that is the case. So that being said, I think we're about ready. We can go on into our first request for recognition. It is Pamela Gerald. Please give your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Pamela Gerald, Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. The last time I came and spoke, I talked about and showed a prop of what I thought was an inappropriate campaign donation that came from a business that is being investigated by the city of Southfield for poor, just providing their residents with poor housing. And as I said, I never made a statement that it was illegal. I thought it was inappropriate. So now I want to move on to something else that I think is appropriate. When the former council president became the treasurer of the Southfield Lathrop Dem Club, he did not officially put his name down with the county because he was a candidate for city council. It was purported and stated that the previous treasurer incurred a lot of late fees due to not filing a campaign finance report. That previous treasurer of the club made his debt right and appropriate, and there was additional debt. That debt came after the previous treasurer made his debt right during the time that the former council president had assumed the treasurer's duties. Without approval of the Southfield Lathrop Dem Club Executive Board, the former council president, now treasurer of the Southfield Lathrop Democratic Club, wrote a check to pay the mayor back for obviously paying the debt. So my question again to the former council president, now city councilman, Mr. Dan Brightwell, are you going to pay the Democratic Club back that amount that you wrote to the mayor, seeing that you wrote that check to him without the approval of the Southfield Lathrop Democratic Club Executive Board? And I'm always hearing you talk about moral compass. So I'm hoping that you will do the right thing, like you said you were going to do, and give back the $1,000 to Sapphire Apartments, and then also rectify this improper payment that you made without the approval of the executive board. And it's not to demean you, but what's right is right. Thank you.
Mr. Gerald, you have a right to speak, but you have obligation to know what you're talking about. And this is the last time I'm going to deal with this year. And I mentioned it.
I got the paperwork.
I mentioned.
No, we're not going to engage in anything. We'll let Mr. Brightwell speak.
I mentioned early 2018. I do not understand this fixation you have with me. So that's the last time I'm going to address this issue. Thank you.
All right, next request is Mr. Gerard Mullen.
Good evening. My name is Gerard Mullen, Southfield Citizens Oversight Committee, Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037. Mr. Chairman, what is wrong with this picture? Over 90% of the top administrative jobs here in this city of Southfield are filled by white folks, in a city made up of over 80% black folk. Sad to say, out of the top 12 administrative jobs listed in the Southfield city calendar, only one position is currently filled by a black person. That is the fire chief, Johnny Menifee. This city's administrative complexion should reflect this city. In 1968, it did. Today, it doesn't. Not even close. Instead of being a city of progress, we are becoming a city of regression. So how did this all come about? That is, how did a small group of white folks who don't even live here in Southfield, end up running this city, this black city? The answer is this. This city is controlled by a white tribunal known as the Gang of Three, headed by a white mayor along with a white city administrator who lives far, far away in Taylor, Michigan. Both of these white men are assisted by a third member of this triad, the previous city council president. The solution to this complexion problem is this. We need a makeover, a total makeover of you folks on the other side of this lectern, starting with the next election, next November, November 2019. And then after that, November 2021. Only then can we start afresh with a new mayor and a new council in order to make a change in the complexion of this city's administration to reflect this city. Thank you.
Next,
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Frazier.
Normally, when Mr. Mullen comes to the microphone and rambles on, doesn't really mean a lot. Tonight, I am very upset about the challenges that or the remarks that he's made about the leadership in this community. This community we have done, I think, a very strong job of finding the right people to make Southfield a city that recognizes diversity, recognizes talent, and he even has the numbers wrong about how the leadership of this community is white folks. And we had a police chief that was African American who got a promotion and an opportunity to go to a city that was more challenging, who was African American. We do have a fire chief that is African American. We just hired a human resources director who is African American. We have a city clerk that's African American. So I want all of those people out there that are listening to the ramblings of Mr. Mullen to take into consideration a statement that our past city council president stated about 7 minutes ago, and that is the right to criticize the government carries the responsibility of knowing what you're talking about. And I'm saying Mr. Mullen doesn't know what he's talking about. Thank you.
All right. Next request for recognition is Mr. Harold Hill.
Okay. To the council, officials, and mayor, my name is Harold Hill, 22300 Seminole Street, Southfield, Michigan, 48033. And I am back before you today because I just wanted to give an update on some information I found out about Beechwood, possible closure of that golf course. First, I would like to say, first of all, that the elevators are working at Beechwood. I did get a chance to go by there today to ride on them because it was an issue that I brought up because they were closed down after the $2.5 million, I believe, renovation, and it was just an untimely event. States the Parks and Rec person that it was just an untimely event that they were closed during the midterm elections. So I just wanted to state that for the record. I did get a chance to meet with the director of Parks and Recs because I did have a concern, and I would like to see Beechwood stay open. And I wanted to give some reasons why, Beechwood Golf Course. And so I thank her for sitting down with me to discuss it. I did have a comprehensive talk with her to talk about Beechwood and the golf course. My position is to present an argument to keep Beechwood Golf Course open. It's a jewel of the Southfield area for several reasons. I just wanted to explain why. It's been stated that cost and repairs are the main factors for the consideration of its closure. The benefits of keeping Southfield reach far more than just in cash investment, the return on investment, such as, one, it's age-friendly. And age-friendly means it's good for the youth and for seniors. Because in my industry, we notice diabetes is on the rise. Not enough people are getting exercise. They're too busy using their fingers, and fingers don't get you anywhere when it comes down to exercise. Two, handicap accessibility. And I truly believe that it is a physical therapy for some because it provides them with independence and accomplishment. And three, it's an opportunity to return to nature in the city, which is very important. It's like being in the country when you go on the golf course. Many people may not like golf, but the big joke is any day on the golf course is better than a day at work. So getting out there, you can see frogs, fox, deer, rabbits, hawks, and of course, the ducks and geese that are everywhere. Now, I just wanted to say too, the course does make some money, but costs like irrigation are more costly. However, the city does spend money to provide projects that
Your time is
may
up,
not
Mr.
pay
Hill.
for themselves. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
May not pay for themselves, but golf is one that can be beneficial. Thank you.
Our next request for recognition is Mr. Keith Harris.
How you doing today? My name is Keith Harris. I'm here on behalf of All Race and Life Matter. And I just want to end this year with something. I've watched on the news today where a 7-year-old girl lost her life with ice. I've seen where in California, hundreds of homes, thousands of homes was burnt down. All over the country, something happening, even here in Southfield. But every day I wake up and pray for peace, protection, and prosperity. And that's my prayer for Southfield, for every resident. I got the best community in all of Southfield. I really do. Diverse, we work together. If it wasn't cold, we'd be here together. But we're not going to end this year crashing nobody, talking about nobody. My grandmother would say, if you had a problem, one of you go out the front door, the other one go out the side door and meet on the side, and hopefully the problem is resolved. So let's end this year with this door closing and a new door opening, and we can meet next year and hopefully we can resolve some of the septic tank issues. Maybe if you're even thinking about closing down Beechwood. This is what it's all about, coming to the table and meeting with your residents, not secretive meetings, not, prospering off of their losses and things of that nature. Like I said before, let's end this year wishing everybody something good, because I do for each and every one of you. And amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next request for recognition is Mr. Toby Rhodes.
Toby Rhodes, 17001 New Jersey, 248-569-7189. It's kind of nice after 9 years of fighting the city of Southfield and that worthless garbage, race-hating scum in the police department that I see that I'm gaining more and more allies. I know when I first started back in '09, it was, that city council was total garbage, just total trash. And I knew they were, and I knew they were going to lead the city of Southfield right into disaster. I think that they were doing it deliberately, and I could see by the outcome of Northland, just a total disaster. Northland was the heart of Southfield. I mean, it was the whole reason. That's what made Southfield the center of it all, because Northland was the center of all the mall networks in Southeast Michigan. So you could legitimately say Southfield was the center of it all because Northland was actually the center of all the malls in the area. But now that Northland's gone, thanks to the city of Southfield and that worthless garbage, race-hating trash in the police department, now the city of Southfield has no heart, and so the city of Southfield will slowly decline. And I think that's what's happening right now, especially with the old ones. I know there's a generational gap. The old ones, especially the homosexuals, seem to be determined to slowly, I guess, dissolve Southfield by slowly dismantling different elements of the city until, I guess, basically the city of Southfield no longer becomes a viable entity. One of the examples of that is someone sent me a notice of a foreclosure from the Southfield Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative. Let's see. Tax foreclosure notice says, please be advised that pursuant to the Oakland County tax foreclosure process, Southfield Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative is now the record owner of the residential property. I'll leave out the address. It says, please contact Jerry Wachowski or Maria Calhoun within 10 days of receipt of this notice to discuss options for relocation. So, I mean, the city of Southfield is throwing people out of their homes with this Southfield Neighborhood Revitalization. It's revitalization now. Before it was stabilization, and then before, I remember way back in the 90s, they had the opportunity zones. I mean, there's always some other scam to get black people out of their property. And what's funny to me is that someone specifically came up here and said that, you know, black people in a majority black city don't have opportunities. And instead of recognizing that, you had a clown actually say, oh, well, we did the best we could. Lord Jesus, it showed we just found the best people. Okay, so you're saying the best people aren't black, like yourself. Oh, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. And that's why I say it's a generational gap, because you're almost talking like you're in the 1980s or the 1990s. This is 2018. People my age don't want to hear that garbage. You want to hear about, oh, they the most qualified. Are you saying I'm not qualified? You saying people my age aren't qualified? I mean, you're not even, no one ever came to me offering no jobs from the city of Southfield, but they certainly called me a criminal. I mean, that's the kind of, that's why I say the city of Southfield is destined to fail.
Time is up. Thank you. Our next request for recognition, Mr. Chris Campbell.
All right. Good evening, honorable and esteemed elected body. My name is Chris Campbell, Vice President and Executive Board Member for Southfield TPOM, the largest employee group in the city. I'd like to address the matter of the recent settlement and ratification of the TPOM union contract, and with that extend commendation to administration for negotiating in a spirit of cooperation and collaboration. It was by far the best round of negotiations that we've seen in quite a long time, and we hope this serves as a bridge to a new era in the city and a foundation with which we can build and working together moving forward. Now, there were several things that we were encouraged by in these negotiations, and we'll share just a couple. One, we appreciated the new labor attorney that the city used, whose negotiation style was less combative, more solution-oriented than prior attorneys and prior paramours. Deputy Administrator John Mashriner brought a direct and to-the-point style to the proceedings that we appreciated, cutting to the chase and articulating the needs on both sides, city and employee, with a view to consensus. Now, we'd like to thank you, City Council, for approving the contract, because we think this will go a long way towards improving employee morale, as well as help employees to have incentive in taking pride in their craft and job functions. Now, where do we go from here? Well, we'd love to continue to build on this spirit of cooperation and collaboration. It's a wonderful paradigm. We don't want to rest on the laurels of a settled contract. Now, this contract runs through the middle of 2020, but we don't have to wait until we're out of contract to negotiate. Why not seek to be proactive and jump on things by beginning negotiations towards the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020? That way, negotiations are happening out of proactivity and not reactivity. Also, let's view employees as one of the city's most important stakeholders at the pulse of what's happening. Now, city leadership is only as good as the employees that work under them. So the more that their voices are heard and allowed to speak at the table only bodes well for the city as a whole. And quite frankly, you'd be surprised at some of the ideas, concepts, and thoughts that are coming from employees that could enhance city operations, daily operations, promote growth, and contribute to a productive work environment. So let's make it a part of the city's culture to have employees feel a part of the process with a voice and not just limit it to those who are heard to a small group of advisors or clique-like individuals. Together, all of us can make Southfield the benchmark, trailblazer, and standard bearer of excellence that it should be, and will be, and deserves to be. Again, we want to thank administration for their cooperation and collaboration with the contract negotiations, and we do look forward to exuding that same spirit moving forward.
All right, thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize Sonia Simpson-Gardner.
Thank you, President Cruz, for allowing me to speak when I was not on the agenda. Thank you, council members. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, hello? Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's better.
Thank you, President Cruz. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak since I wasn't on the agenda. Thank you, council members. Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I just want to say that I've always been respectful. I've never disrespected anyone, but I do feel like my rights and the rights of my daughter has been disrespected. I took some time to do a little history or to look up the census of Southfield. And Southfield is about 70% black and 54% minority females. So Southfield basically looks like me. And the leadership or the executive leadership of Southfield is majority white, and there's no secret. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I'm also just thinking to myself, I don't know how comfortable I am with the majority of the leadership being white making decisions for my daughter, especially since I've experienced the situation of my home being severely burglarized and hacked. After coming forward in November, or being able to come forward in November, I have had others, actually 2 other young women that have come forward with me, stating that they've had the exact same situation with the Southfield Police Department, breaking into their homes and doing the exact same thing. So at this point, I'm just realizing that this is a crime. It's a federal offense, and I feel like this actually needs to be escalated over to the feds. So I am asking City Council as well as the mayor to make a recommendation over to the feds so they can investigate what's going on with the Southfield Police Department. I am not confident that the Southfield Police Department can investigate the situation that's going on with their police department, and I'm actually questioning, do they really have an internal affairs department? I've tried numerous times to place phone calls over to their internal affairs department and to reach out to their internal affairs department, and no one was able to really provide me with any information. I want to thank Councilwoman Morris for reaching out. I do want to thank the Department of Human Services for reaching out and attempting to work with me, as well as the Police Department for reaching out to me today after 26 or 27 days to make a phone call. But like I stated, I am still looking for legal representation to have a phone conversation with the Southfield Police Department so we can actually get the matter resolved. And I do want to say to everybody, happy holidays, and thank you very much for speaking with me.
Thank you.
Or allowing me to speak, I'm sorry.
All right, next we'll move on to the council portion of our agenda. We have 1 travel expense report to approve.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the travel expense report for Lenny Taylor, the National League of Cities Conference in Los Angeles, California,
Support.
November 6th through 11th.
It's been moved by Ms. Morris, supported by Mr. Frazier, that we approve travel expense report for Lenny Taylor attending National League of Cities Conference. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
All right, thank you. Council, any remarks?
I
Yes,
have
Ms.
one
Taylor.
brief announcement from Human Services. They sent to all of us and asked us if we would please let the community know that they will be having on Friday, December 21st, from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Southfield Parks and Rec, room 115. Well, Human Services is partnering with Bully's Tree Service to give out free winter hats, gloves, and socks to all that show up during that time. This is their third annual free winter hats, gloves, and socks giveaway. Again, that will be on Friday, December 21st from 1 to 3 in room 115 in Parks and Rec building. Thank you. Oh, and I wish everybody a happy holiday season and enjoy.
Yep, Mr. Mandelbaum.
Thank you. Also, during the holiday break, if you're interested, the Southfield will be having a Skate for a Cause on Thursday, December 27th in the afternoon from 11:30 to 1:30. You go ice skating. All you have to do is bring in a non-perishable food donation, and you get free admission and skate rental. So again, that's December 27th, 11:30 to 1:30 in the afternoon. Also, the Southfield Fire Department posted on the city's website some holiday safety tips. So I advise everyone to take a look, make sure that you are safe and secure during the holiday time and don't run into any issues that need the assistance of the fire department. I'd also like to ask if, through the administration, if it's possible to also have those tips posted on Cable 15 for those who don't frequent the city's website. This morning, we swore in 4 new police officers, so that was a very nice addition to the city. We're still looking for additional police and fire officers, so if you know anyone who's looking for a job, they can apply to the city. And last week, we also had several promotions and new probationary firefighters sworn in by our city clerk. It was a very nice program. There were several promotions, and I think about 7 or 8 new probationary firefighters. 12 total. So that was very nice. But again, we're always still looking for new firefighters, so feel free to apply at the city. Lastly, I just want to wish everyone happy holidays, happy New Year, and thank all of the residents who come to the meetings, who speak up, who watch us on TV, provide input, as well as a thank you to all of the city employees who do the day-to-day business that make Southfield the wonderful place that it is. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Mr. Brightwell?
I pretty much echo everything Mr. Mandelbaum said, but I want to just also wish everybody a very peaceful and holiday season, and also a joyous and fun New Year.
All right. Yep, Mr. Frazier.
Yeah, I don't want to be left out.
I was going to say, if we just give a blanket happy holidays from all of us.
Yes. I wish everyone a joyous and happy holiday season and a safe holiday season. And don't forget, there are a lot of people out there that are hurting. And if you have a couple of extra dollars, or if you have an opportunity to share the blessings that you've received this year, just to make someone that may be living on the street or homeless or has a financial problem, make their holiday season just a little happier. So do the best you can.
All right. If there's nothing else, we'll now move to the mayor's portion.
I just have one thing this evening, and that is the earlier at 5:30 today, I represented the city in Lathrop Village to congratulate longtime mayor, former mayor, and council person, 26 years of public service, Frank Brock. His last meeting is tonight, or I assume it's over by now, but anyhow, he had a very good turnout. lots of warm wishes, and on behalf of all of you, wished Frank the best. He's done a lot for not just Lathrop Village, but also for Southfield, and at one time was our DDA director. And happy holidays to all.
Thank you. Administration?
Just a few announcements. A reminder to the public that City Hall will be closed on Monday, December 24th, and Tuesday, December 25th. There will be regular garbage pickup on Monday, December 24th. On Tuesday, December 25th, there will be no garbage pickup. Garbage pickup will be the following day. We'll also be closed on Monday, December 31st, and also closed on January 1st, 2019, Tuesday, January 1st. Again, there will be garbage pickup on the 31st, no pickup on the 1st. Your cycle will be one day later for that week. We will be open on Wednesday, December 26th, 27th, and 28th. The first council meeting of 2019 will be January 7th. I want to wish everyone here happy holidays and looking forward to a outstanding 2019. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Attorney.
Thank you. Through the chair, at last week's meeting on the 10th, we discussed two pending lawsuits against the city. One, Ashford versus Karpinski, and as noted, I've prepared a resolution for your honorable body seeking approval for the facilitated settlement in that matter. And the second item is B, Wilson versus Hometown Properties, Oakland County Treasurer, and the City of Southfield. I also prepared a resolution in this case seeking approval from this honorable body to take whatever action necessary to defend the city's interests in this case.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved by Mr. Frazier and supported by Ms. Taylor that we approve items A and B under the attorney section of the agenda. Any question, any discussion?
I did have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before that, I did inquire as to the amount of money that we had been spent thus far in legal fees regarding the neighborhood revitalization program. And I think we were told the amount that was spent by the SNRI. And so I just wanted to the city administrator, if maybe we could discuss that in the finance meeting.
So, how much has SNR spent? Or?
No, the city.
I would need to work with the city attorney's office for that number. I'm not sure if there's a segregation of that amount, but we can check it out.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, the city has defended various city actions that have been a result of that.
All right, we do have motions still out here. Is there any discussion about these? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, and happy holidays to you all.
All right, thank you. Looks like Mr. Lowenberg has something to talk to us about.
Good evening, Your Honorable Body. This evening, I present before you the annual update of our city's investment policy. There were two recommendations. This was brought before the Finance Committee, and two recommendations from our advisors, Robertson Capital. The two updates to the policy was, one, to include the Federal Agricultural Mortgage Corporation, Farmer Mac, to the list of government chartered agencies, and also to change the minimum rating for municipal securities to A for a limit up to 10% of securities, and the rest of the portfolio must maintain an average of AA- or better. And this will help us in terms of our selection of securities, and we had gone over in terms of some samples of the types of securities that would be A-rated paper, such as the Great Lakes Water Authority, Kalamazoo Public Schools, City of Riverview, West Bloomfield School District, among others. So, and the performance typically is approximately over a 3-year time period, about a 2% higher return that we'd be able to pick up also with that. And there's never been a default of any of those securities as well.
Mr. Chair?
Questions? Yes, Mr. Mandelbaum.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the investment policy as presented.
Support?
It's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Mr. Frazier, that we approve the city's investment policy as presented. Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And this evening also, I present before you an annual update of our depository resolution. This is a list of all the banks that the city can do business with, as well as also broker-dealers that, for securities transactions. We have one addition to the list of banks. There's a bank called the State Bank, which is located in metropolitan area, and also one addition and one name change to the list of broker-dealers. Hilltop Securities is a firm that specializes in municipal securities. It's a spinoff of many of the people from Fifth Third Securities are now with that firm. And so we want to add them to our approved list. And there was a name change. Wunderlich Securities was bought out by B. Riley Wealth Management. And so we just want to update the policy for that.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Mandelbaum.
I'd like to move that we approve the annual update of depository resolution as presented.
Support?
It's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Mr. Frazier, that we approve the annual update of depository resolution as submitted by the treasurer. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
All right.
Also, just wanted to also echo my wishes for happy holidays to all residents and Happy New Year. One note also that though the city offices will be closed on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, we have a Dropbox, 24-hour Dropbox outside of City Hall that is available for anyone who wants to make their payment to still get it in for their taxes for 2018. And we'll mark those payments as if they were delivered, as long as it's there by the time we're back in for the following morning, January 2nd's business. We'll mark it as paid on December 31st. So, for all residents, and we accept postmarks as well. So, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I have a question of the treasurer. Sorry, I should have asked you at our study session. We were allowed to pay our tax, our first day of paying taxes was December the 1st.
Correct.
Do the taxes go out coordinated so that they reach the homes prior to December the 1st? Because I didn't get mine till the 5th.
The bills are mailed out December 1st.
Pardon?
The bills are mailed out December 1st, and we can't take payment prior to December 1st. But first of all, the bills are available online immediately, as well as we have an outside company that does the mailing of the bills, and they're mailed out usually by November 30th. And so it's usually received within the first month of December, first week of December, and the bills are due February 14th without any interest penalties. So it
Okay,
allows.
so if you're paying it online, it will be December the 1st.
December 1st, it's available.
If it comes in regular mail, it may or may not get there on December the 1st.
Correct. And
Okay.
But as we give an adequate window of time till February 14th to be able to pay the taxes without any interest penalties. So
Yeah, I kept running out to my mailbox saying, oh, is it here yet? Is it here? Oh, really?
we have many people that anticipate that tax bill, so
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Madam Clerk? Nothing, all right. Have nothing under the schedule, no ordinances. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, meeting adjourned.